Hello.
Yay!
Yay. Welcome to the Miles with Moms podcast. There is 3 of us today. Tricia, unfortunately, could not join us the last minute. So I am Whitney.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Shanna.
And this is a podcast for moms who run by moms who run. And I keep forgetting to open up my script. I should know it. The listeners are probably like, you read this every time. Why don't you have it memorized? Well, our goal with this podcast is for mother runners everywhere to never have to run alone or feel alone in their mom life struggles or journey to accomplishing big goals, little goals, any kind of goal. Because guess what? Taking time to take care of yourself and to chase big goals or any goal as a mom's not only okay, it's awesome for you and everything that you're teaching your kids. As we say at the start of every podcast, be careful. We may swear. We may say something inappropriate. It's not intentional. It just kind of happens, you know? That's just the beauty of moms getting together and letting it all out. Today, our topic is an interesting one. It is, why the heck do we like the marathon? Or why the hell do we love the marathon? What is the allure of the marathon? Because, man, it is brutal and it breaks your heart. It can break your heart, but we keep coming back to it more and more. And the reason why we are talking about this is, well, it's been on my mind a lot. For a while, actually. But Shanna and Olivia, you guys just about 50 hours ago crossed the finish. This is running the next week, but you just crossed the finish line of CIM in Sacramento, California. So that is why we are taking this on. So are you guys ready?
We are ready.
Did you guys say that you have a love-hate relationship with the marathon?
Definitely. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like for me, I have a love-hate with mile 18. It's not even necessarily the marathon. It's just mile 18 because of what it does. It's what it does to the mind and the new ways of math that I come up with during mile 18, approaching mile 18. Yeah. I convinced myself at like mile 15 that I had 4 miles of the marathon left. So how that worked out, I don't know, but
I think it's because like at mile 18, you're like, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh no, I have it at 8 miles, which is kind of substantial. And those 8 miles
is
rough. Okay. Well, before we get into that, you have a shout out, right? From the marathon, Olivia?
Oh, I do. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. And I am so sorry. I have forgotten your name, but, and I know you told me it 3 different times, but you know, we all had a lot going on and I happen to have my name on my shirt. So if you forgot mine, I wouldn't have blamed you either, but I met you at mile 11. We were cruising down a hill and then you were also at the finish line and you, oh my gosh, you didn't have headphones in. You were just cruising easy. And it was, you know, mile 11, like we're not even halfway through yet. And you just lifted up my spirit so much. You said that you love the podcast, you listened, and that you thanked us for it. And, you know, I just think it was so neat. This was the first time in real life that I've met somebody that listens.
That's so cool.
And just kind of sharing that it was wild. It was so cool. And I met a couple of you guys at the start too. And I texted my husband because I had my do not disturb on, but I was able to respond to something of his. And so I was like, I just met a listener. And it was just so cool. So we love you. I try to post on that Instagram all the time and just tell you guys how much we love you and how grateful we are for you all who listen. Tell us that you listen. Tell us that you love it, or even if you don't love it, but that you listened. We love you. And yeah, that's my shout out right now. So if you hear this and I haven't reached out to you yet or haven't found you yet, reach out to me because I want to connect. Yes.
This is kind of reminding me of like those old school classified ads. Like,
that was exactly
you at the laundromat.
Yes. You were wearing a blue tank, running shoes.
Like everybody else out there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, seriously, thank you. Like, the people that are supporting this podcast, it means so much. And it clearly is like, I think people that are not moms who listen don't quite get it. You know, they're like, this is what you want to listen to, but
Yeah.
I know.
this is what we talk about, you know, on the run. So this is, I think only mother runners can really get it. Why?
It's so true.
So we appreciate the niche love that you guys give us. Okay. Do we want to get into this love-hate relationship with the marathon?
Yeah.
Okay, my first question, I'm going to start broad, is why do you guys think the marathon has become so popular? Why do all people from all sorts of running backgrounds or non-running back, like Olivia, you were a professional dancer. Shanna, you were mile and 5K standout runner. Why? And me, I'll say it was on my mind because I saw my dad running the Marine Corps marathon growing up. And so I went to college in DC. So that was my first marathon, was the Marine Corps, because I saw my dad doing it. So that's why it was on my mind. And then just trying to conquer it and get faster in recent years is why I keep coming back to it, because it is unrequited love. I've never run a good marathon. There is always something that has happened that has gotten that has just made it not be the experience that I wanted to. But that's sort of how it is, right? I mean, there are just so many variables. So okay, so that's a very long-winded question. So why do you guys think it is so alluring? Because when you think about it, like, you're paying to go stand out in God knows what weather at God knows what hour to go torture your body for hours, and you're sacrificing so much to train leading up to it. Why are we choosing to do this?
That's such a good question. I've thought about it a lot from the standpoint of, like, I have a couple of former coworkers that I used to work ambulance with, and they're about to go run Disney. And, you know, I was like, you could just go to Disneyland. Like, they love Disney. You could go to Disneyland. But I think because part of it, I think the allure of challenging yourself physically. You know what? I'm going to have someone else take this because my son just got home and would like to show me his haircut. Shanna, what do you think?
Okay, for me, I'm on the hate side of the marathon. Not even so much because of my time, but I literally just crossed the finish line and I was like, I am so tired. Like, I am so tired of marathon training, and I've only done 3. So I really have not much to complain about, but I think just the whole race, I was just like, I'm ready for some change. I'm ready for something different right now. So crossing the finish line, it was the first time I feel like out of the 3 I've done that I was just not ready to jump back into marathon training again. And that I'm actually really excited that we're flipping the switch with my training this next spring, and just going to have fun with the short distances again for a little bit, just disconnect from the marathon grind, and then come back super pumped, to do those long runs and those long workouts again. So yeah, I feel like I'm on the opposite side right now, where I'm just like, yeah, that was great. I'm done for that right now. I'll come back to that for Chicago. We got lots of months ahead of us to just have fun, get out there, race, do something lighthearted and something that was where my roots came from, So yeah. Yeah, I don't know why
I like that. I think I'm going to align with you on that. If I can get my body figured out, which December is trying to figure out why I haven't been feeling great, is the short distance and then eyes on Chicago is I love that. Yeah, so it's because, it's challenging. Yes, it's challenging, but a half marathon's challenging. I've never raced a mile. To me, that's exciting to try to race them. Why, I guess, is it just because it's so far that just the distance in of itself, and it doesn't matter the pace. It's very straightforward going after this long distance. That's fulfilling and satisfying and challenging.
I think that's the part of it is once you've experienced 5 miles, you're like, I could keep going, because once you realize that you don't have to run a certain pace and that technically anybody can run a marathon, you don't have to, but you can do it. I think once people realize that part of it, the allure of doing it is it's so tempting. And just to maybe know that even if it wasn't on your bucket list, that it could be put on there, and you can, like when you're a grandpa, you can say like, I ran the marathon. And even if it was just that one time, and because I think about that a lot, because I'm like, why would you want to do this? But then, I have had a friend that, she ran like 6 miles with me. And then she, like, after 6 miles, she always wanted to join me on all of my double-digit runs. And I was like, well, you have to work up to it. It will hurt so much. It's just like, why would you want to? But I think because she never even thought in the first place that she'd be able to run those 6 miles. So then it's like, well, I was able to do this. Why wouldn't I be able to do that? And I think the idea of that, it was the same thing that I did when I ran a half marathon. I was like, I want to run double this. Like, why would I not want to try? And not knowing that it does, that 26 miles, it's such a weird number, because even when I'm training for it and I've done 20 miles, I'm like, 6 more miles, we've got this. But then during the race, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the longest 6 miles of my life. It's going by so fast and so slow at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible? It's so weird.
That was a realization I had. So it's been almost 2 years or a year and a half since I ran my last marathon. And I just remember being really bored. I was just so bored.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's so funny.
To me, the most challenging part was just mentally staying in it, because to run a certain pace, you have to really you have to zone in. You can't just hit. I mean, at least for me, I couldn't just hit cruise control. And so I had to keep reminding myself, like, you got to mentally stay engaged or you're just going to fall off pace. But that, like, mentally, it was more tiring than physically, because you have to stay in it. So that became my mantra, was when I would start to just kind of daze off and you're thinking about God knows what, monkeys. I don't know. I don't know why monkeys came to mind. And then it's like, no, Whitney, like you gotta stay focused here. Which, I mean, that's just hard. I mean, staying focused for that long it's hard.
Yeah,
it is. Like on long runs, it's different. You guys have had great practice with that, because you've had so many like marathon effort portions in your long run. I didn't because I was starting fresh. And so I was not used to that. So long runs, it's just, you just go out there and you're just whatever, just completely zoning out, listening to my Justin Bieber or whatever. If anybody's wondering. But you were.
I'm like, what should listen to?
I don't know. It's just it's boring. It's boring.
That's so funny.
It's funny. I resonate so much with that, because that's honestly why I hated the 2 mile, like in high school, or the 3,200, whatever they want to call it. But it's because it felt like it was just like this continual, like you're just lapping and you're lapping and you're lapping. And it's like you have to be patient the whole time. But like the inner side of you is like, oh, well, I want to get into the race, but you can't really get into the race because you have 26 miles. That was like the hardest part for me, especially like getting into that distance is like really just like turning your mind off. And my coach says that, he even said that to Olivia. He was like, go to sleep till mile 16.
And I thought it was so funny. I thought it was so funny
because it's
was great advice.
We're still grinding. Like our paces are still like fast, and it's not like you're just like, walking down the street, so but it is true. Like I noticed like my grandma's race, marathon race, like that's exactly what I did. I literally just like, I remember seeing the miles just fly by and I was like, whoa, we're already at mile 5. Whoa, it's already almost halfway. Wow, we're at mile 16. When can I go? Whereas there's been races like just a couple of days ago on Sunday where I literally every mile was like mile 4, mile 5. And I was like, we're never gonna get there.
Oh my God. Those last few miles, I don't know if it's the course or it was because CIM I ran it a few years ago, and that was that was my first race back from my plantar fascia tear, and that was the longest 5K I have run in my life. I have never been more tempted to just stop and walk the rest of it than in that moment.
Oh my gosh. For the last 5K?
The last miles, I was like, I saw so many people pull off the course and start walking.
Yeah, I did too. I saw one guy on his hands and knees, and I was like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, I want to do that too right now.
I feel your brother.
Yeah. I was like, so I hope someone helps him. I was like, I can't right now. I'm so sorry. But I was like, I understand why he's doing it, you know? But I was running next to one of our friends, and the last mile, I don't know how many times I yelled, "This is the longest mile ever!" It was, and I kept looking at my watch too, which is like, you know, total detriment, you know, but it's that extra 0.2 also that happens is like, because you're like, oh, mile 25, but then there was a big chalk drawing that says 1 mile left after you've hit that. And you're like, come on, you couldn't have put that just at mile 25 just for our mental sanity. And then, you turn the corner, and I still was like, this is a long course. I know it. And I looked at my watch, and I was like, we're at 26 too. And that's the part that's hard, is that it's all in your mind, though. So much of it is, it's all these mind games. Like, I think that's what it is about the marathon, is that you are in your head, and it's hard to get out of your head. And if you're having fun, you're like, am I having too much fun? Am I playing my cards right? You know? And I think that's what's so crazy about the whole thing, is like, every time you do anything, you're like, am I messing this up? I still have a long way to go. Like, that's what and then the mind games, like, they're just, like, when I tell you I was doing the weirdest math, I've never done that. I like, not on any long run, not on any marathon. I've never done that much math. And I was like, you're pretty much almost done now. So I wasn't.
So you were like, oh, I'm 3/8 of the way done, like that sort of math.
Yeah, well, I was like, oh, 1 more mile until I take this gel, and then I'm going to take my caffeine gel at mile 18. So you basically are about to take that caffeine gel, and at mile 18, you've got 1 training run left. 8 miles is like a training run, you know? And so I was like, which takes you less than an hour. So, you know, which technically, when you have less than an hour left, it's almost like 30 minutes. So you're pretty much done. Yeah, I was like, anything I could have told myself, but that was a huge part of it, was I just kept telling myself these random things. But I think because I bonked so hard in my last, or I don't even think I actually bonked that hard. I think I was just so devastated from the experience, because when your body does start to shut down, it's just traumatizing. And you're like, I don't know that I want to do this again, you know? And I just kept waiting for that to happen during this one. And then it wasn't. And then I was like, well, when is it going to happen? Oh, is it happening? And
Oh, that's interesting. So you have like PTSD in a way.
Oh, yeah. For me, mile 16, I was just seeing that number, I was like, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And because for me, mile 18, back when I was running in the the more 9-minute paces, when you have mile 18 left, you still have way over an hour of running left.
A long time.
Which, it's a really long time. And just mentally knowing that, and you're so tired, and like, I've done those downhill races. So if you're running downhill, your quads are just shot, and an hour more on your legs. It's like, the mental part of that was tough. And so for me, I've always kind of had to play that game. And so this time around, it was like, because of the math that I was doing, I was like, even if you slow down, you still have less than an hour of running left. And so for me, mentally, that helped a ton. But because I did try to put that cruise control on, and my husband sent me a text that said, I'll text you after your nap. And that, honestly, I was like, I'm just waiting for that text. And he did. He texted me right around mile 16, and I was just laughing. I was like, I'm awake now. So I wasn't.
I love that. Like, because people do say the race doesn't start until the last 10K or something like that. But I don't think I've ever gotten to the start line fit enough for that to be the case.
Same. Yeah. It's so interesting, because at mile 8, at the halfway mark, you'll all of a sudden start to notice groups of people passing you. And then at the 20-mile mark, I always notice people passing me, and I'm like, wow, people are really actually turning it up at mile 20, and they're cruising, and it's super cool to watch. And like I always talk about this with Shanna, that's when we're training together. Like if we're on a 17-mile long run, I always like laugh around like mile 17 because I'm like, she could totally speed ahead so fast because like you always have gas in the tank. I don't. Like I'm running out of steam, you know? Well,
I was being passed by the people that were flying.
Part of the allure is especially when you're new to running, you have to callus those legs. You have to build the mitochondria, the capillaries. And so, yeah, I mean, physiologically, there's a reason why you can't speed up then.
Yeah.
Because you're still building all that inside your body. Whereas if you've been running for a while, you've built that foundation. So
that's such a
I think that's one thing that also keeps us coming back is because, well, first of all, we learn the lessons, like don't take the applesauce or don't eat Mexican the night before, that sort of stuff. But then you learn the lessons and you're like, oh, if I just nail this, I'll do that much better. But then also it is like in most cases, I mean, things go wrong and you have flat days and whatever, but it is like the stock market where you keep physiologically changing so that you're fitter, so the next one your legs will last longer. And so I don't know, so Shanna, I'm wondering, did you become attracted to it because you're in the Instagram world? So is that when it, like, you're in there and you see all these people racing and that it became interesting and intrigued you? Is that why?
No.
Okay. So it wasn't the influence of social media.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, I ran with like a few girls too at the time in 2023 they've done multiple marathons. Like they were rich in the history of it. They were really fast. They did 17, 18-mile runs were normal for them. And I was like happy with my 12s. Like, no, I definitely like is like, again, it comes back to like, it was just like an intuition. It was a thought that came to my mind after a half marathon.
Oh, that's right. Like, you said that last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like as clear as day. Like you need to run a marathon, you need to run it in this time. And I was like, whoa, I don't even know how fast that is per mile. And then I went home and I like researched it on VDOT and I was like, hell no, there's no way. And then it just like that thought just got like hard, like it got stronger and stronger and stronger because I was actually in the middle of like 5K training and dabbling with the idea of maybe trying for my fastest mile. And so I was like doing 1K workouts, 400 workouts. And then 2 weeks into that, I just was like, I can't ignore this anymore. I just need to tell my coach. And he was just like, all right, let's do it. Like, we got to build your base. We got to get you up to like your first 2-hour run on your feet. So you know what it feels like. So yeah, it was never like, even in my first marathon build, I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I'm supposed to go home and mother my children. Like, this is wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, I keep coming back because that time is like on my mind. I'm like, it was put there for a reason. Like I need to accomplish it. And if it takes me 10 years to do it, then I'm going to take 10 years to do it. But I also realized too, like, I feel like we can get so fixated on a goal and forget like that there's a lot to that goal. Like it's not just like a singular track to it where it's like marathon, right? And that's where I kind of was. I was like fixated on, okay, now the next marathon. Okay, now the next marathon. And then I didn't PR on this one. I'm like, oh shoot, now I got to do another one so I can PR and be that much closer to my goal. And then I realized like, that's not how it works sometimes. Sometimes we need to take a step away from the goal. And that's not changing the goal. It's just taking another approach to maybe build fitness or get something stronger mentally, physically from another area of your body to then come back and tackle it again more fresh and ready. So,
oh, totally. Yeah. Yes. I think it's so great that you're going to take a little mental break because you're going to burn yourself out. And that speed training can 100% serve the marathon. And I think, I'm sorry. our puppy doesn't know how to open the door, and so she just
I can hear
slams
it.
it. She just paws it. So I need to go.
Cute.
Our older dog has not taught her to use her nose to.
I love
open
it.
the door.
Oh,
I think one of my kids. You're like Whitney's. Her
What's
house is
slamming
being robbed
her?
right
Yeah.
now.
Oh my goodness.
No, okay, sorry. One of my kids heard. Yeah, so I think that's super smart that you're doing that.
Yeah, Whitney, I'm curious, was your first marathon Marine Corps marathon then, or
Mhm.
was it? That's
It's
cool.
so funny. I had no idea what I was doing. So I was a senior in college, and I was just like, oh, I want to run under 3:30. And so
wow.
I ran
Why
a
that goal
3:29.
time?
Like,
You did? Oh my god.
yes.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I think I had a Jeff Galloway plan, and
Oh my
but I
gosh,
didn't
that
do
is
the
so funny.
walking, but I
Yeah.
just ran, and then I drink a lot of beer during that time. I had no idea. I was like, I think Boston was 3:40, so I was like, oh, I'll do 3:30.
Oh, okay.
And-
I was gonna say
And
okay.
yeah, and then I took a long break until I met, because I was in the news industry, and so it was really hard to take time off. And to go to a race. And so when I started, then I met my husband, and we both loved running. And what did I do? We ran. Oh, we would travel and run. We traveled and ran a couple of races just for like Cape Cod and Bar Harbor. And then I did Boston, and he was really into weightlifting, and he was like, well, I want to train for Boston. And my dad was there, and he's like, a guy your size could never run Boston. And so he stopped lifting weights, and he qualified about 6 months later.
Oh
and
my
so,
goodness.
yeah. So
Wow.
that's kind of, but again, we had no idea what we were doing. And so
Did
then
you,
it wasn't.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, did you like love it when you were doing it and in it? Did you just love it? Is that why you kept going back? Or
Yeah. And so I didn't overthink it. This is what this month is like. I am burning down the Whitney that has become in the past few years, and starting fresh, because once it became so fixated, once I started running with people who were so focused on times and all that, it's just the joy just got zapped, and I started just comparing myself all the time, and just being so down on myself if I wasn't achieving, hitting my paces, or even if I hit my paces, and I would look on Strava and be like, oh, so-and-so is faster than me, they're better than me. And it's just like the whole, I just got mentally so derailed. So I am like really working on unraveling all that so that the joy comes back, because I do I obviously love running. I mean, I've always loved running. Even when I've tried to not love running, I love it so much. But I want to get back to doing it just because I love it, and not because I'm trying to achieve a certain goal. So when I say, I announced on Instagram, like, I am done trying to run a 240 something marathon. But I mean, I do want to go after those goals, but I want it to be with my heart in the right place. And I want it to be full of joy and me truly loving the process, and not just paying lip service to it. And to me, like, I do love marathon training. What I don't love about marathon training is feeling tired all the time. But to me, I'm realizing, one, I may be feeling tired because there are things like, I met with an RD yesterday and realized I don't feel well. Like, I am not intentional with the way I eat at all. Like, that could be a reason. It could be hormone levels, and also like, I don't have to wake up at 4:30 to go run. I can run later in the day because I work from home. And before, when I was training, I was working. And so I'm just realizing that training can look different, and I don't have to be afraid of it. Whereas I am still kind of afraid of it, because like a different form of PTSD is when I think about marathon training and the marathon grind, I just think of me being tired and impatient with my kids, and just so focused on and stressing out if something comes up and I don't get to do that workout that was planned, and oh no, what am I going to do? And like, I don't want to be that mom. And that's how I have been training for marathons in the past. And so I'm like trying to reconcile, how can I go after those goals but still be the patient, happy, joyful Whitney that I want to be.
I love that. I think that's so good. I mean,
another
we've
therapy session.
No.
That's what
Really
this
cool.
is, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Shanna's talked to me about this before because I did have a lot of doubt in my marathon block, and it wasn't, I don't even know how to fully explain it. It was because there were all these outside factors of my life, and running is my escape. But running should never, like, because she was like, I just don't want you to lose the joy for running. And I was like, well, that's not what's happening. It's that everything else is where I'm like not finding the full joy because it's so hard. But running is the one thing that I can get to. But at the same time, like, running should never be like a toxic relationship. It shouldn't make you sad. Like, it should make you happy, right? Because it is something that we choose. Like, it is not something that we have to do. And like, that's why when we talk to Tricia, and she's in her ultra life right now, and like, I'm so happy she has that, because I don't think that these time goals, I don't think they're for everybody, because if they are robbing you of your joy, then it's not worth it, you know? And like, she seems to have so much fun out there on the trails. And like, for me, I don't know that I think I would be cold and tired, and like, I don't know that. And I don't think anybody would stay friends with me. They were like, she had a really bad attitude the whole time. And that would be my toxic relationship, where like, for this, even if I don't get like, if I have a bad workout or something, like, for me, I laugh it off. I have to, otherwise it's like, what, like, no one's paying me to do this, you know? So, and I think it's just really important that it never gets to being that toxic relationship of where you're like so disappointed in yourself, because like, everything that comes with what we are doing, and having even done one marathon, is just so above average. And, you know, if people aren't enjoying the marathon, like, if you're a mom and you did your marathon and you didn't really love it, like, and you're like, I just don't think the distance is for me, like, that's okay. You know, it might not be, but halves are super fun, and go and find fun races. Like, you know, like those rock and roll races, those are super fun. Like, sometimes I have to do things like that, and just remember that like, it is fun to go out there and do it. Or like, we did that crappy Las Vegas one, and like,
you did not have fun doing that.
We did not have fun, but the aftermath is hilarious. Like, I still laugh about it. Like, I was even taking in a cup of water at this race, and I'm like, you can't not serve water during a race. Like, it's just like, those things are funny, you know, and you have to like find the joy in it, because otherwise, like, what are we doing? You know?
I think something that I've realized too through doing this podcast with you guys, and then I've mentioned on my Instagram that I've been working with a friend who's a hypnotist.
Yeah.
She's a sports performance hypnotist.
Oh yeah.
And I started working with her thinking like, okay, I think that me thinking my age is a barrier. I need you to unlock that to help me. But what I really realized is that it's the community and the connection, like doing this, that I really, really love and get from running. And I have walled myself off from that because I've been just dealing with these injuries, and I've just been I'm like, I just need to, you know, stay within myself. But I realized that, kind of like you, Shanna, in high school, like, for some reason, when I became competitive with my marathon goals and my running goals, my self-worth somehow got mixed up in that. And it was like, I need to achieve this in order to feel like I'm worthy of belonging, worthy of this running community, which is so messed up, honestly. Yeah. And so my work with her, it took a different path, and it was like trying to get people's acceptance by achieving things it's just so wrong. And instead, it's, people should love you for who you are, not for how fast you run, and you belong to this community innately. You don't need to achieve a certain thing. And it's just, I see it a lot in women that I work with too as a coach, is that we put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve these goals. And so much of it is because we feel like we have to earn acceptance or community or connection with people. And being able, like you two training with each other and running and sharing these experiences, I mean, that to me is so important to staying true to the pure joy of running.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense whatsoever.
No, it
Of
does.
course.
I was just telling Olivia this too. Like, this is something that I'll share in my race recap, but I feel like the most that I got out of this race, it wasn't even the time. It wasn't like I have so many pictures where I was actually smiling in. I was like, I was miserable since mile 3. Like my legs just felt heavy. I just felt like I was an elephant out there running, and it just took like everything in me to get one foot to move in front of the other. Like it did not feel like it was my day, and that was okay. But just, I had turned on my music. I had asked at the start line, I was like, does anybody care if I turn on music out loud? Cause I just need to pump myself up right now. And they were like, no, we don't care. We might judge you for your music, but we don't care. And so I turned it on and people were just like jamming with me. Like they were just like singing along. They would pass me and say, thank you for playing the music out loud. This is awesome. Or they'll start singing the lyrics and then they'll hang next to me for a while because they're like, oh, I want to listen to this song, so I don't want to leave yet. And I just like, in that moment of this race, I literally was just like, this is why I love running. It's the community. It's exactly what you said. It's connecting with people, knowing that you are both freaking suffering for 26.2 miles, but yet you're just like, and one person could be having the best day of their life and the other person could be having the worst day of their life. And you guys are still just as excited for each other. Like I crossed the finish line and I had a few guys that I had started with and they were either behind me or they were just at the finish line already. And they were just like, oh, your music made it all the way through all the miles. And I just was like, they didn't care that I got my goal time that I said I was going to go for. Like they didn't care that I missed it by 4 minutes. Like they were just like excited to see me cross the finish line, you know? And I just think that half the time, I mean, majority of the time, I think that's all we want for each other is just happiness and joy. Like to be able to cross that finish line and know, wow, like it was a crappy day, but you made it. You got across. Like you finished it, you know? And so that's something I took away from this race. It was like, it was so much less about the time this go around as it was of, wow, this is why I love running so much. I love just seeing people go out there, chase their hard goals, whether they accomplish it or not. And we're still going to just move forward the next day as if we didn't fail and just keep trying, you know, and it's all because, you know, we grow from it. Like I've grown so much through this process of marathon training. I still can't say I'm like a big fan of the distance, but it's taught me like mental toughness that I didn't know I had for that many miles. And it makes the 2 miles seem like it's a lot less daunting. So I don't know. It was a great experience in that regard of just seeing like the community, the running community as a whole, humanity as a whole. Like if you lose hope in humanity, go freaking run a marathon.
That's so true.
Even if you stand at the finish line and watch any finish time come in, you will get goosebumps, you will get chills, you will be emotional wreck. And you just realize like humanity as a whole is so good and so pure. And all we want is to just thrive in life and be happy. And if you don't feel that at the marathon, then like, I don't know where else you'll feel it.
So my biggest regret when I did CIM, because I came wanting to pick up where I left off.
Yeah.
And I finished 8 minutes off what I was going for. So, I mean, if you guys have seen the video, it is rough. I mean, I am hobbled. I am the definition of hobbling. And my biggest regret is I crossed the finish line and I started crying and I just was like, I want to go back to the hotel. And I didn't stay and I didn't cheer for people. And I really, really, really regret that. And so I vowed, I was like, I will never do that again. No matter what happens on race day, I will hang out. I will cheer for my fellow runners. And I mean, that's just like, I mean, it very much embodies where my headspace was and perhaps why yes, my training wasn't there, but also embodies like why it didn't go the way, because I was not running for joy. And I mean, I think it's hard to have a good race day, especially a good marathon day when you're not running for joy, when you're all wrapped up in the wrong things.
That's so true. That's exactly what it is. I keep joking that I didn't know where the race photographers were, but like all my pictures are just of me smiling. But then a girl did pass me and she was like, you've been smiling the whole race. Share your playlist with me. And I was like, but it's because I kept telling myself, if you smile, you'll feel good, you know? And also the crowds actually love when you're like happy, you know, because then they're just like, instead of being like, you've got this, you know, like, and like their feedback was positive because I was giving positive. And so like, it's that same thing of like, even if you just give it to yourself, like just run because like you deserve to be there. And I always say this, like I ran a 4:18 marathon, and it's the same 26 miles as if I ran a 3-hour marathon. It is the exact same. And the feeling is extremely similar. Like, because that 4:18, I had no goal. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just wanted to finish. That was all. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what we want to do. We just want to finish. And, you know, nope. In a minute, give me a second.
Your kids are like, I just want you to finish this podcast.
Seriously. Oh my gosh.
No, it was a really cool. I love that you add that on though, that like the joy is truly like the reason I feel like it's going to keep us coming back. Like otherwise this distance will just beat you up. It'll chew you up and spit you out. Like
it will. Yeah.
Like I did feel like that on my first marathon. Like after my first CIM experience, I was so focused on my feelings and my emotions and my disappointment in myself that like I kind of walked away, like not really being able to soak in that first opportunity of crossing that finish line. And so I told myself after that race, I was like, I never want to feel that again. Like, I don't care if I have to turn my emotions like inward and then focus on outward people around me. And that's what I did. You know, Olivia, she got her 2:57, and another teammate of mine ran a 2:57 too. And then there's just so many people around me that were like messaging me, like, I just finished. I didn't get to see you, but I PR'd. And it's like, we in the Christian world, you know, we call it as like turn your service to other people. Like when you turn your focus onto other people, it's like your life gets more happier. It gets more joyful. And that's exactly how I felt. Like it was like the moment I let go of the fact that I didn't PR and I was able to focus on the people that did have a amazing day or accomplish something super hard in that race. It was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Like I was so happy and so full of joy, even if it wasn't for myself, it was for other people. And yeah, I think there's power in that, Whitney. What you said is maybe it is worth, you know, hanging around and talking with the people around us and getting out of our own head, getting out of our own little circle for that moment if it was a bad day, so that we could see that there is actually we still love the sport. It just was, you know, it's okay to have frustrations, but also have joy at the same time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I love the point that you said, and it reminds me of our church has on their sign the saying, inwardly strong, outwardly focused. And
yeah,
I think that's such an excellent point, that if you make it all about yourself, running all about yourself, and you forget the community, then you're never going to be satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a mom runner podcast. So like realistically, this is also about how we deal with things. Like my kids are so little right now, they don't know. So when I was disappointed after grandma's marathon for no good reason, like dealing with that. But if they were, you know, if they were 12, 13 years old, like they would have seen how I was dealing with that kind of thing. So it's like these lessons that we're also having to bestow upon them of how are they actually going to react to things because they'll face adversity too. They will face disappointment. They will maybe not get on a team that they wanted to or something like that. And so like, how are we handling these disappointments? Or, you know, and then also like that it's good to cheer for other people, you know, like just because you didn't get something doesn't mean you cannot be happy for someone else. So I think that's a huge part of it, honestly.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah.
We don't have to like punish ourselves. Like I think after my first marathon, I felt like I needed to I felt guilty for not doing more. And even though that's all I had for that day, and I looked at it back and I was like, why was I was almost like punishing myself for not performing well. And it was like, well, you can only do what your body can do, you know? And so it's like, why would you put yourself in this little box of like sadness and frustration and not allow yourself to soak in the whole experience of you still worked 6 months to get to that start line, to run that same distance, to run those same miles as everybody else who did PR. Like, why? It's not fair for yourself to like rob yourself from that joy of the whole experience even after, you know? And that's something I really it really stuck with me from my first CIM experience to this next time. I was like, I will not allow that to rob me from the 6 months of working so hard to be there, because I feel like I should almost punish myself for not performing better. You know, it's so weird how our mind works and functions, but yeah, like I don't know.
I was the same way when because I mean, we took time. My husband and I went to CIM, and it's very far from Tennessee, and it's like a 3-hour time difference. And we were gone for, we were gone for like 4 days, which is, I don't know if we've ever left our kids that long. And I had so much guilt because like, I left my kids. We and my mom's and for this time, really?
I know.
And that's so, and so like, if you were feeling that way and you feel the guilt, it's like, then how can you make one of my favorite sayings, chicken salad out of chicken shit? Like, how can you make the good out of this situation? Like, cheer on the other people, soak in the whole experience. Like, I love that point, Shanna. I mean, so we aren't perfect. We have to give ourselves grace. And so if you feel bad after a race and you are so focused on yourself, like, that's okay, but learn from it. Just like you learn not to take applesauce or whatever random stuff people give you on the course. Like, every race, good, bad, whatever, you always can learn something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's so true.
Is there anything else? Because I need to take my son to art.
You're like, do you guys have anything else, Dad? I gotta go.
No, I mean, I'll get off my soapbox about the joy in running.
No, I think it's great. I mean, because it's such an important lesson. It's like it's good to have time goals, and it's good to also just have personal goals of like being happy and emotional goals, and like whatever the outcome is, that like we talked about that, whatever the outcome was, like you went on this big trip with your kids, and for me, whatever the outcome was, this was my first time away from my kids, and that's huge growth. And so like, I think no matter what, with any race, with the marathon, like you're going to learn something. And I think that's the key takeaway, like good or bad, you're going to learn something. And I think personal growth is probably the biggest thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I do like what you said, Olivia, about if you trained for a marathon and it wasn't for you, like, that's okay. Like, here we are giving permission that you can go after a different distance or a different goal or not a time goal. I mean, there is an unending variety of goals. And so just because it seems like everybody and their mother wants to go after the marathon and time goal marathons, and I think being in social media, it's just so easy to hop on that train and then fall into the comparison trap. But we don't have to do that. Like, we have the freedom to choose what goals excite us and what make us feel good about ourselves and the whole experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think so much of that is always like the social media impact, right? Like, oh, she just ran a race, I want to feel that good too, I should sign up for a marathon. And then you forget, like, maybe you didn't like it, And I think that's a huge part of it, is like, because we share, it's that highlight reel, right? And or or you saw someone and they didn't get their goal, and you're like, oh, it's okay to not get your goal, but you forget that that wasn't the most enjoyable experience, or that it's going to be a $5,000 weekend of some sort. Like, these things are okay to reevaluate and take a step back and be like, is this for me, or am I doing it for a whole other reason than to show myself that I can do this, that I can show my kids and stuff like that. Because it should just be, a little bit more wholesome than just for that, like, little,
for the Instagram highlight reel.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's such an important point. Yeah. It has to be for you. It has to serve you. You have to take a step back and be like, is this serving me well? Is this truly what I want?
Yeah, exactly. So, but 2024 race season is over. I don't think there's any more big races out there other than 5Ks. So
I will say, when I was tracking you guys and sitting in my house, I was just eating cereal, and I was like, I'm glad actually that I'm not them. I do not have FOMO right now. Like,
you know what's funny
suffering and I am in comfort.
Yeah. I was thinking about how fast this was going by for other people. Like, because whenever I'm tracking people, I'm like, wow, this is going by so fast. So I definitely thought that. I was like, just saying to other people, this is going by really fast right now. So
unless you've run it, and unless you've run a marathon, then you know like how long it
still
is. It's so true. It is so true.
All right, I'm gonna read a review.
Perfect.
And I'm glad we got to connect and kind of go over the races and where your head's at, and it seems like you guys are both in a good mental space, so I'm happy.
I think we get a lot of questions, or I get some individually about like specific race things, and so we can kind of branch off on that. But especially with Tricia being an ultra runner, like I feel like we have so many different versions of racing that we could cover. So just kind of broad stroking it. It's a good start.
We'll add that to the list.
Yeah,
I know.
Of things
Our never-ending list.
Our never-ending list. So we will never run out of things to talk about. And we're always looking for ideas. So always feel free to message us on Instagram. Okay, so this is coming from Pregnant Mom Loves Instagram. Thank you. I listen to this in the evening after my kids are in bed and I must do work. Also, sometimes on my runs, if it's a long run and I'm solo, you are so relatable. Keep them coming. So thank you for sharing that. And we love the review. So, hey, Eleanor, feel free to rate, subscribe, review. Do you want to come say hi real quick? Hi, here's Eleanor.
Hi.
Hi.
You can't hear them.
I like her sweater.
No, I can't.
Cute.
Oh, they like your sweater.
With the mashed potatoes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
Mashed
right. You've been in here
potatoes.
before. When Cal came in with his bad haircut. Now we got to see your son's haircut. We're going to. Okay.
Are you almost done?
Yes, I'm finishing up right now. Okay. All right. I love you. Bye. Peace out. Peace. Oh, she's going to stand there awkwardly and watch me do this.
Oh,
okay. All right. So rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff.
Yes,
guys, it's lovely to see your faces.
I know. We've missed this.
All right. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
All right. Bye.
Bye.